What's up, everybody? My name is Alex. I'm the CEO and co-founder of Voyager. I've also been an agency owner and designer for over 15 years and worked with every single imaginable possible business you can think of. But I landed on Web3 because this is where my heart is. I love technology. I love helping people to come together around technology. And that was actually how I met Eric. I went to one of his events in New York City, and I was like, damn, this is fundamentally different from most of the other things that I've been to. He's up there speaking on a panel with three brilliant women about a topic that I was actually really interested in, and even being in the industry for as long as I have been, it's kind of not that common to find conversations that I'm really, really engaged in. So I wanted to take some time to meet with him after, and then we both realized that we're very similar in the agency background and whatnot. So we started working together, and it's been 3 years now we've been working on stuff. So good to join you for a conversation here.
Yeah, absolutely. And instead of me doing a keynote, I figured it'd be good if you asked me questions that would help people get answers that could help them help themselves. Because at the end of the day, a big part of the space is teaching people how to fish. I think the whole education and onboarding component of the space has really kind of waned off, especially post-pandemic. But during the thick of COVID timeframe, a lot of people came into Web3 and they got into it through NFTs because there was an art component to it and there was culture and community attached to that. And then we went into meme tokens, and now we're shifting into AI, and the narratives continue to shift and morph and transform. But that's one of the beauties of this space. It really is the future of things, and all things from art to music to fashion, TV, film, entertainment, finance. It's really incredible. So the educational component is actually what I feel is really one of the top three most important parts of it.
So what does sustainability mean? What's the metric that you want to track when it comes to sustainability? I mean, a lot of times people will talk about impact or the TVL of the project or how many active daily users you have. What's the real metric for building a brand that lasts?
Yeah, I mean, I'm about tangible things. I like physical things. I'm definitely analog to digital, I like pressing something and it does something, as opposed to pressing something and it thinks and then it does something. And in the past, we were only able to really go so far as to controlling our reach through these social platforms, where metrics can be fluffed, people can beat the algorithm through different social engineering skills and tools, people can manipulate the way that they're perceived or how they showcase themselves and provide credibility. And I think with structure, foundation, and leadership, anybody can really double or quadruple down on a brand to build longevity and sustainability in this space just by having consistency in the communication and the tools that they're using to communicate with. So, for example, on Twitter or X and Instagram, if you're posting things that are showing your face, it's going to get picked up in the algorithm better than things that are irrelevant to people, that people don't want to see. Your face is uniquely you. There's nobody else on this planet that has your face, name, image, and likeness. So in order to drive traffic for a brand, posting a face that people can become familiar with, especially with a voice attached via video, that's going to start drumming up interest and familiarity and continuity. So when people see you, they know that you're going to be providing value to them. That's what people want. These platforms are free for the most part. And so it's like, to build a sustainable brand, you want to be providing value that's going to compound because of the amount of output that you have. And I think you don't need to show your face in order to build that value in a community. You could actually just find a niche and just cover it consistently. I think researchers and analysts in this space are really, really coming up right now because they're putting in work to get these extensive reports on who did what, when, where, why, and how. And there's so many different directions you could go, whether it's in art and you're talking, known origin, OpenSea, Magic Eden, super rare, et cetera, or it's entertainment, and how blockchain ticketing is reinventing the way that counterfeiters are no longer able to scalp tickets. And also on name, image, and likeness deals. You can deep dive into that conversation on how these athletes are owning their likeness and tokenizing it. So I think just delivering value on a consistent basis will compound in any of these different channels, but you want to make content that's evergreen, that's not dated. So, post with some, intentionality, and try to make it a habit of doing it consistently, whether that's 2 or 3 times a day, if you want that growth, whether it's personally for your brand or for a brand that you have in your pocket that you're bringing with you.
Yeah, I mean, that really resonates, because a lot of times people come to me and they're like, hey, how do we grow on social media as a tech company, as a tech brand? And what we see a lot is people are always posting about specs, and they're posting about volume, and they're posting about just all these things that are great for the project, but there's nothing for people to connect with. There's no face to the name. It's just like you're just reading information on a screen, and there's no human connection whatsoever. I think that a lot of Web3 projects struggle with being relatable and communicating these very, very complex ideas in ways that people can understand. But with that, I guess, what would you say is the biggest difference between Web3 marketing and Web2 marketing, and how do we bridge the gap? Because now the line is just getting blurred between AI and Web3 and crypto, whatever's going to be next.
Yeah, I mean, I personally struggle with using the words crypto versus Web3. And in a lot of the marketing groups and advertising groups and agency groups that I'm in, they all want to lean into crypto instead of saying Web3. I personally think Web3 is an all-encompassing umbrella, and so it allows for more diversity in the products, services, and conversations, whereas crypto, in my head, is typically in alignment with the financial end, whether that's DeFi or TradFi or meme coins, tokenomics, anything of that nature. But I do think they're not mutually exclusive, and there is crossover with both. But yeah, accessibility to the information is important, and so the vocabulary needs to be dropped. There's already a low bar of entry for the most part, but there is no status quo for the most part because that bar is low. So it's really on us to almost be socially responsible to educate those around us on how to utilize better terminology and better vocabulary. Like one thing, this is a good example, one thing I really love about Taipei Blockchain Week is in the other stage, in the hallway, they have all of these abbreviations and acronyms. They have, like I have on here, HODL forever. People are like, well, what does that mean? Hold on for dear life. And then the other side said JPEG rich. People are like, well, what does that mean? NFTs made money, So I think, providing tools to the trade that people can use to get paid as they cruise on escapades and escalades, starting with the vocabulary and the English being used, or any language, honestly, is really key.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, I think one of the things that you and I have really focused on with the events that we're hosting with New Friendship Tech and bringing people together is just on not only just building, everybody just talks about this buzzword. It's like, oh, we need to build a community. And it's not that you need to build a community, you need to build around a culture of education, like you said, but also everybody needs to be winning together. I feel like there's a lot of takers in a lot of other industries, whereas in Web3 there's a lot of builders, and I think really the next phase of that is just bringing the culture to the new people. This is how we get the people that aren't already in crypto, because I feel like it's a lot of people that are in crypto have been in crypto for a while. If we're going to get to the next stage where we get to, everybody calls it mass adoption, what's the ticket beyond culture?
Yeah, I mean, I do like the if you build it, they will come motto. And I do like the if you take care of the people, the business will run itself, but you have to take care of yourself before you can take care of the people. So at the end of the day, it's a people person business. If you don't have a voice and you have a great product, nobody's going to give it a shot. And I think it's kind of the food court method. You could have the worst food on the face of the earth, but if it looks amazing, people will at least try it, which is going to get you one step closer than not trying it at all. And I think in this space, there's so many people that don't understand that you have to get out there. And you can start small. If I pull 3 people aside and I help them with a website, a press kit, a logo, I set up a Telegram, a WhatsApp, we get the same exact name on every social platform for them. And I make sure that we as a unit collectively are moving where you're only as strong as your weakest link. So everybody is strong and everybody's winning. So then I give those 3 people walls or positions or titles or some form of definition. And in the descriptions and the bios of these people, they are going to tag one another. So all ships rise together. And this is something I did to migrate over 70,000 people from the Clubhouse platform to the Twitter platform when we launched Twitter Spaces. I basically had a daily show for 1 hour for a different category or niche or area of crypto and blockchain and Web3. And I had 2 co-hosts. One was always a woman, and the other was always somebody of color or a minority group. And in turn, what that did was it made me the tree trunk and them the branches. And eventually those branches turned into their own trunks, and then they were able to follow the same process and build out their communities and cultures underneath that. And before I knew it, on Twitter, I was starting to get rooms and spaces that were full with 8, 9, 10,000 people at the same time before Elon took over. But it's really incredible that you can literally just follow that process that I just said for any type of business or any type of team and start building that culture and that community, and then the connectivity that's going to come with that and the camaraderie that's going to come with that and the conversations that are going to come out of that are what are going to convert into your future.
Yeah, I mean, it's like if you can teach people to fish, then it creates an environment where everybody has the ability to go out and learn and grow and be able to, teach other people how to fish.
And there's no more fish.
There's always more fish to an extent.
There's radiation in the water. There's plenty of fish, is what I tell people that use like dating apps nowadays, and I'm just like, there's toxic waste in the water, and the pond is not good.
So how important is the next thing for you personally when it comes to growing and developing new friendship tech? What's coming up next, and how are you capitalizing on those opportunities?
Yeah, I mean, the core values of New Friendship Tech are democratization of information and redistribution of wealth. And what that means, those are very, not even buzzwordy, but they're just a reality. Democratization of information is making information accessible, making knowledge and experience accessible to people from all walks of life all over the world. And you can do that now with AI and LLMs and these models that can basically automatically translate, transcribe, caption everything that we're saying into a local language. We can make it native tongue, right? So this conversation can get republished in in Korean, in Japanese, in Mandarin, in Chinese, in Spanish, in French, etc. And you can do that in seconds these days with some of this technology. So I'm surprised that there isn't more of that happening. And I do think that's one of the future of things that we're going to start seeing more and more frequently, where captions are automatically translated and people's voices are also automatically translated so everybody can be a part of the conversation. And as somebody that dropped out of high school at 16 but is now speaking at Ivy League schools, I witnessed having certain knowledge and tools and books and education and advisory and support being inaccessible to me unless I had the capital for it. It hindered my growth as a serial entrepreneur and investor and advisor. So I want to give people the tools that help me become successful, and then watch them pay it forward and help other people become successful. The other side, the redistribution of wealth, that's really, really, really important. So only until recently have we had the opportunity to have the tools of today that are paving the way and building a better tomorrow. These tools are very much in the Web3 toolbox. If everybody in this room gave a wallet upon arrival, and upon departure, a portion of the earnings from the event went back into the business, but the other portion went into a pot, and that pot overflowed equally to every single person in this room, you'd be happy. He'd be happy, she'd be happy, that just paid for your meal, that paid for your ride, that paid for your hotel or Airbnb or whatever it is. So essentially what I'm doing is I'm turning social currency into equity by way of participation, because without you and without you and without all of you out there, there's no us, there's no me here, there's no reason to have all this beautiful production. And so this is really giving people skin in the game, and it's revolutionizing the way that participants and consumers can actually benefit and be rewarded from their efforts. You know, I'd rather have 10 of you in my room or 100 of you in my room than none at all. So with blockchain, we can set up tools and smart contracts and do things like airdrops, or we can have automatic purchasing. You know, when I buy Nike shoes, I buy Nike stock. When my Amazon Prime renews, I buy Amazon stock. When my mom's Netflix and Hulu go and hit their subscription time, I'm buying stock, right? So essentially now I'm giving people an opportunity to be just as invested in the things that they already do and consume and see and hear and taste and feel in a way that we've not really seen before. So both of those two things are really exciting to me, and I'm happy to see them help, you know, all different types of communities and cultures all over the world.
Yeah, it's really amazing to see, because I mean myself and like some of our team, we get to see this firsthand in some of the events that we put together. Even if it's just a small event, if you can live stream that event and partner with a couple bigger brands, you can go from the 15 people in the room to 15 million people, and then way beyond that when it comes to legacy content or viral content. And it is really just access to information, and we're in an age where there's unlimited amounts of information. Any 5-year-old kid can jump on ChatGPT and learn about quantum mechanics. So it's really just, you know, how do you distill the information, and where do you go to get access to, in crypto we call it the alpha, or just the, you know, first-hand knowledge. From my perspective, what I've always seen is like, if you can't get access to this early enough, then you end up getting burned. If people ape into crypto when crypto is at the top, then they get burned. So what do you think is the best way in terms of providing access to the information? What channels do you go to, and how do you share that with your people?
Yeah, Read, Write, Own from Chris Dixon of A16Z is a great book that I've been giving to people, because it talks about the journey from Web 1 to Web 2 to Web 3, which I don't think a lot of people understand why we call them Web 1, Web 2, Web 3, which is why it's Read, Write, Own. We are in the era of ownership, as well as identity, as well as self-sovereignty. There's tons of opportunities that exist around all of that. And I think that's why a lot of people are interested in building in this fast-paced, high-stress, huge opportunities, crazy windfall environment that is Web3 and crypto and blockchain and AI and DePIN and RWA and everything else, you know? But I do think it's baby steps. And I used to make people read the Bitcoin white paper, and then after that, I'd give them a book or some reading materials, and then after that, I would bring them from marketplace to marketplace to marketplace, metaverse, wallet, and do comparisons. So we would go to Phantom, we'd go to Trust, we'd go to Rainbow, we'd go to MetaMask, we'd go to Zerion, and after we get done with all of that, we might hop over here and we'll check out digital worlds. So we'll go to Spatial, we'll go to Somnium, we'll go to Voxels, we'll go to Decentraland, we'll then jump from that end into, you know, who's killing it on the marketplaces with NFTs and art, and we'll go from Magic Eden to OpenSea, Rarible, Super Rare, Baker's Place, rest in peace, etc., etc. So I think having that well-rounded guidance really it started a movement, and I got to see it in real time when onboarding hundreds of thousands of people to the space over literally daily, almost 24-hour space that we were running from Clubhouse all the way to Twitter Spaces to IRL. And it's crazy because only like 5 or 6 years ago, you would go to these rooms and there would literally be like 200 people in the room, and Ethereum and Bitcoin and every fucking alt that you could imagine, excuse my French, was accessible and available at a price point that you couldn't imagine. But nobody really wanted to hear it. It was too complicated, too confusing. It wasn't communicated effectively, and that's just kind of what it goes back to in terms of what you were saying with content. I say marketing's king, distribution's King Kong, but content is queen. And right now, you need content that can be syndicated and published and posted all across the board, and it needs to be backed up, because when any of these social platforms die, so does your brand, and that shouldn't be the case. You need to own your own keep. Stop building castles on other people's sand. Earn your keep, establish your brand, own your content.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, I think one of the biggest places that people kind of miss in Web3 marketing and marketing just in general is the power of word of mouth advertising. I would bet almost every single person in this room was asked or invited to be here personally by somebody that they know. That's how I ended up here. That's how I ended up in crypto. That's how I ended up building the company that I'm working on. It's literally just a matter of either asking if you need help with something, or if you want to get something, just literally ask. All the biggest opportunities I've ever had in my life, I would just, hey, can we make this happen? And sometimes people say no, sometimes people say yes. But also, every great opportunity that's ever been presented to me was presented to me either in person or on stage or in an environment that was just like this. And that's really the focus that I think people need to get back to. Social media has become attention media, and it's getting flooded right now, and I think a lot of people are getting pretty tired of it. And we need to go back to the more important thing, which is meeting face-to-face, meeting IRL, so we can get back to what really matters, which is building and connecting with people in person. You know?
Yeah, I mean, we're in an attention economy, right? Social capital, social currency, that's what gets you paid, but not by the platforms, at least not anymore. And at the end of the day, it's really crucial to understand that closed mouths don't get fed. And when you're in these rooms at these conferences, to make the most of the time that you have here, be intentional with a goal or 2 or 3 in mind. Look at the logos on the sides of the stage and try to find people that are part of the staff that can direct you to the people that are throwing money to make sure that you can be in the room with them. Look at the people that are on these stages and take photos of the entire panel. Look them up on social media and say, hey, I really appreciated your conversation. You said a few things that really enlightened me or gave me a different perspective. I'd love to schedule a call with you if that's something you're into. The next thing you know, you're sourcing that last 2 million or 850,000 or 250K, or maybe you get a grant. You know, I've gotten
partnerships, whatever.
It's crazy, and I've gotten so many, like, I'm super grateful for this space and the opportunities it's provided, because I've met so many amazing people like yourself and like Tiffany and a lot of others here. But it's like, you know, there's not really another industry in the world where just by being present and in the room is going to reward you. And so I think just pay attention to the details, you know, take a bunch of materials back home and disseminate them to find out what those companies' problems are and see if you can solve them without even working for them, and you might land yourself that next dream job. And, you know, be an advocate loudly on social media, even if you think only 20 people or 2 people are going to see it. You know, consistency compounds. So if you're constantly tagging Taipei Blockchain Week and you really want to work for TPW, like, you can essentially do that just because the social media team and the social management team, they're going to see that, hey, this account keeps tagging us and I don't understand who they are. Does anybody know who they are? And eventually you connect the digital with the physical, and that's it. Convert it into an opportunity to change your life.
I think that's a great place to end. Thanks again for hosting us. This is such an incredible venue. It's my first time in Taipei. Very grateful to be here, so thank you all.
Absolutely, and that's our time. We will see you all tomorrow for another day of Taipei Blockchain Week. Appreciate you all being here. Stay until the end. Y'all are troopers. Catch y'all tomorrow.